welcome back. It's our first Doctor Who action figure review of 2025, and we're kicking off with the latest Character Online exclusive, which is the new Vortex Edition 3rd Doctor with Sonic Screwdriver. This is a brand new version of the 3rd Doctor, new head sculpt, complete new costume variation that we haven't seen before, a variety of accessories from previous releases, and also an updated deco on the roleplay item, the Sonic Screwdriver with sound effects. So, before we get into the nitty-gritty of what's in the box, let's take a look at the packaging. So the figure comes packaged in the new style box with the corner cut off at the side there, kind of like what we've seen with the Vortex Edition figures for the 15th Doctor and Ruby Sunday last year. But it's the same style guide, the little diamond box out saying that it's high deco Vortex Edition figure with accessories, deluxe electric-plated Sonic, multiple sound effects. We've got the Whittaker Gatwa era TARDIS on the front, and we have this brilliant sort of orangey colour, which is going to denote the 3rd Doctor for these Doctor Who action figure releases. And then on the back, we have a little biography / synopsis of the 3rd Doctor's era, specifically referencing the Daemons, because that is what the figure in this set is based on. And it also has a little bit about the Doctor's Sonic Screwdriver as well. And we also have a little look at what's included in the set, and also a little description about what Vortex Edition means. Note here that there's no talk of like Gen 3 bodies or anything like that. So this is the standard body that the 3rd Doctor was released on about 15 years ago. So that hasn't changed. It's just that the deco around it has changed significantly. On the inside of the box, we have this lovely recreation of the roundels that were used in the Time Monster. And then if you look at the bubble, particularly where the giant maggot is, you can see that there are 3 spaces. One that is being occupied by the maggot's head, and then 2 additional empty spaces. We'll come to that a little bit later. Here is the contents out of the box, and the 3rd Doctor figure looks great. He looks absolutely amazing. I can't wait to get into this. Some of you might be a bit confused as to why have they got the 3rd Doctor from the Daemons with giant maggots, with the Crystal of Kronos from the Time Monster? Why does he come with a full-scale version of his Sonic Screwdriver? Well, I think this is like Character Options' way of doing their like ultimate edition of the Doctors. So kind of like how Super 7 does it with their licenses, and they have like one figure which comes with a ton of accessories. That's kind of what we're seeing here, but for the Doctors. For most people buying this set, they're here for the 3rd Doctor himself. So let's crack on with the figure. He looks fantastic. Straight away, he looks really, really good. This is the first time we've had a 3rd Doctor from season 8 in the line. So this is going to appeal to a lot of people, because I know lots of people really wanted the red jacket look with the purple on the cloak. I certainly did. But of course, it's not just that. We also have a brand new head sculpt. A head sculpt that is less stern, more smiley, and has the shorter hair that we see more specifically with season 7, but also a little bit into season 8. Sort of season 8, the hair's starting to grow a little bit longer. It's not quite as wild as like the head sculpts that we've seen before, which is like more season 10. So this is more towards the earlier period of Pertwee's tenure, which is great. I love the fact that they've given it a whole new head sculpt, and I think the likeness is superb. I think they've done a really fantastic job of capturing Pertwee here. So if we look at the head sculpt, again, like it says on the box, it's this new Vortex Edition deco, that base plastic with the paint over the top. It looks phenomenal. You can see all of the lovely details and all of the wrinkles in the sculpt here. None of that is covered up by paint that, you know, otherwise we used to get with the earlier figures. So that's fantastic. Lots of lovely color here in the hair. We've got that sort of darker gray underneath, and then they've sort of dry brushed a lighter gray over the top. So it gives a lot of depth to the hair sculpt. And again, with that darker color underneath, it sort of signifies that Pertwee's that little bit younger. The paint around the eyes are particularly well done. No paint bleeds or anything like that. So head sculpt wise, I am really, really impressed. And I think when you compare it to the previous head sculpt, now obviously the previous head sculpt is like 15 years old. I think the likeness on the new one is that much stronger. Now, obviously, it depends on whether you want your 3rd Doctor smiling or stern, but I definitely think that this new head sculpt has a lot more Pertwee in the face. And it's funny because I think, you know, once upon a time, that old head sculpt was fantastic and we loved it. But seeing this one is sort of like, wow, it's amazing how things have come on. If we go down to the body, then of course we have the new costume. So we've got the costume as, like I said, worn in Season 8. This is specifically the version worn in the Daemons. Throughout Season 8, you see him with this cloak and red jacket combo. Most of the time, he doesn't have the cravat. But again, I think because this is like high deco figure, they've gone for the Daemons look, which has the green paisley tie, which they've done here really, really well. I love the way that they've painted that, all the little details there, that base green with the red and white patterns on top to give it that paisley effect. It works really well. So the cloak is just the same sculpt as we've seen before. This time it's the black and the purple. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this very well on camera, but certainly in person, it looks like the purple. There's almost sort of like maybe a bit of like a glitteriness to it, or there's like a pearlescence to the purple, which really gives it that sort of silky satin look that the actual fabric had. So that's really great. I love the way that they've done that, and it's a perfect match for the color. Like I said, it's the same sculpt. No need to update the sculpt because that is how the cloak looks. It's perfect. And then let's look at the jacket. So if we take the cloak off, that is, again, just that very soft PVC plastic. It's really soft PVC plastic as well, so it means that taking the cloak off and putting it on again is a lot easier. I remember those early Third Doctor figures, the PVC was quite firm, and it was always a bit of a bugger trying to take the cloaks off, but here it comes off nice and easy. Again, the sculpt for the jacket is the same as the sculpt that we've seen before. Not an identical match for the Season 8 jacket itself. That's got very different type of collar and lapels. As always, done their best to try and emulate what we see on screen onto the existing tool. So we have the piping around the outside of the jacket and along the collar and lapels, and that's been finished off in a sort of a very sort of dark grey, almost black paint. I think if I had to nitpick ever so slightly, I think I'd have liked that to have been slightly darker. I think I'd have rather it have been like black rather than this sort of dark grey. But again, they've also added some details around the buttons. So you've got the little clasps here. Those have been painted on. Again, that would have been actually 3D on the proper jacket, but for the sake of the mold that they're using, they've painted that on instead. So that's great that they've added that little detail there. And I think they've done it before with previous Third Doctor figures as well. They did it with the Three Doctors one. And then going down to the sides, we've got the buttons. Those have been painted black. He's got a little black line around the base of the cuff there. And then, of course, it ends with the white of his frilly shirt. And he's got his black driving gloves on, which I love. I think this is maybe the first Third Doctor figure we've had where he's wearing gloves, which is great. I'm really pleased that they went for that look as well, rather than the usual hands with the rings. I think it's really fun that they've given him his driving gloves. So going back to the jacket just briefly, a couple of other tiny little nitpicks, only because I'm a sad git. The little black line that they've put around the cuffs, that really should be further up the arm. If it's something that bothers you, you could easily paint that in. That's not a very difficult job, but I don't know if that was like a factory error or what, but it's a shame that it's down there and not up there. And then in terms of the colour, I think the red of the jacket, it's great. I think it could have been even more red, just ever so slightly, more of a deeper red perhaps. And I only say this because when you put it side by side with the Three Doctors version, I think the red of this Daemons version still has a bit too much orange in it. Not quite Season 12 Tom Baker's jacket red, but sort of along those lines, but maybe a bit deeper. And then going down to the trousers, those are finished off in a greyish matte black, and then at the bottom, we have his shiny, glossy black shoes. And then, of course, in terms of articulation, so he's got articulation at the head, which turns left and right. Articulation at the shoulders, just simple swivel. Swiveling at the biceps, swivel up and down at the elbows, swivels at the wrists, and swivel joint at the waist. The hips can move forward and out to the sides, and he has swivel joints at the top of his thigh, and the knees pivot back and forth as well. So just the standard articulation we've come to see from the Third Doctor figures. So overall, I love this figure. Really, really pleased. I love the new head sculpt, and I'm really pleased that we've got this version of the Third Doctor's costume in the line. Going back to the head sculpt, like I said, it's based on that very early look for the Third Doctor, particularly in Season 7. So I would love for them to go back at some point and give us a full Season 7 Pertwee, with the blue jacket and the black and red cloak, because that would look amazing with this new head sculpt. To be honest, I think now with this new technology and seeing how good the head sculpts look with these new paint jobs, I'd love to see some of those other Pertwee looks finally get a look in as well. Maybe revisit the Three Doctors version kit and give him the cloak, give him the black cloak with the light blue lining, or maybe revisit the Green Death figure and give him all the bells and whistles, but also give him the cloak with the tartan. That might be slightly more difficult to do because it's quite an intricate pattern, but it would be great. It would be lovely to go back and either revisit figures that have been done before or do entirely new ones. The season 8 look with the blue jacket but with no tie, or this red jacket look but with no tie. The thing with Pertwee is the possibilities are endless. He's got so many bloody costumes. He comes with a variety of accessories. He's got his sonic screwdriver, which you would expect, so that's finished in a lovely silver with all the details finished off with the red emitter, and you've got the yellow and black stripes and the red on the collar there, which looks great. That fits into his hand nice and snug. He also comes with the Crystal of Kronos, which is, of course, from the Time Monster. Again, that's another figure that could do with a revisit, because that was the B&M release that had the necktie that was painted white and it looked a bit whack. So that would be a really good one to revisit with the open shirt. You know, add it to the list. And I'm really pleased, actually, that we've got the Crystal of Kronos here, because my Crystal of Kronos that came with the original Master, whether it's due to age, whether it's just been where it's been displayed, but the crystal itself, the plastic, is starting to go quite yellowed. So I'm really pleased to have a refreshed version that can go on display. And then we move on to the next accessory, which is the giant maggot. So like I said at the start, the packaging has spaces for, it feels like different head heights of giant maggot. And that's because the giant maggot inclusion is kind of like a blind box affair. So if you remember the original giant maggot release that came with the Third Doctor in his outfit from the Green Death, it came with 3 maggots, one sort of lying prone, one slightly rising, and then this one that I have here with the open mouth doing the full attack mode. That is why the packaging is built that way. It's so that it can fit either of the 3 sculpts, and it's kind of a luck of the draw as to which one you get. Now, this might cause some frustration amongst fans. I'm not too bothered because I already have the original Giant Maggot release. What I will say, though, is that the paint apps on this new one are fantastic. I don't have the original ones to hand, but the paint apps here are really, really good. The wash over the top of the maggot itself really accentuates the texture of the sculpt and all of those little details between the sort of ridges of the maggot, and around the back there, the little nubs. And I mean, the maggot's bumhole is, quite evident on this new version. I can't remember if the maggot's anus was quite so clear on the original, but yep, it's there to see. And then on the top, we've got the maggot's head, and this is great. I mean, you can see all the teeth finished off here in white, and you've got the pink of the open mouth. It looks fantastic, really good. And then around the front, you have all the green slime that causes all the problems in the Green Death. So it looks great. It's like a glossy finish as well, so it feels like it's slimy and horrible. Love it. Absolutely fantastic. You know, it's an iconic thing. You would have to have this packaged with the Third Doctor. So it's great, really. You know, you're not just getting your Third Doctor, you're getting a monster as well. It depends on which one you get. I'm really pleased that I've got the sort of attacking one, because I think that's the more interesting of the 3 sculpts. I'll be very interested to hear what people have to say about the sort of blind box aspect of the maggots. Let me know in the comments below. Do you mind? Do you think that's annoying? Are you going to be trying to collect all 3 versions of the maggots, which I think is probably quite insane. So that's it for the accessories in terms of accessories that actually work with the figure. So the figure aspect, love the figure, love the accessories. I think they're really well chosen. Really, really great stuff. Now let's talk about the sonic screwdriver. So again, like I said at the start, I think most people are buying this set because they want the new variant of the Third Doctor, and possibly to pick up stuff like the maggot that they may not have been able to get before because it was a Forbidden Planet exclusive. But the sonic screwdriver is a nice addition for those who may have missed out on it the first time around. Now, like I said at the start, it's been released a few times, and each time they seem to get the deco better and better. And I think this time they've really cracked it with this electroplating. Now, when I heard it was going to be electroplated, I thought, oh God, is it going to be like really shiny chrome, kind of like the 14th Doctor's sonic screwdriver? But it isn't. It's not as shiny as that, which is good because I think that would have been like too chrome. Instead, it just looks like metal and it looks great. I think when you compare it to the original release, or the version that I have here, which is the second, it's real sort of night and day difference in terms of the finish. And this new finish just makes it feel more like a real prop rather than a toy, which is always good. It's got all the details that the previous one had. So you've got the sort of more burgundy color emitter around the edge and all the details of like the nuts and screws captured in the sculpt, which is fantastic, always really cool. And then all of the red and the yellow and the black of the decoration of the collar, and then down onto the handle, you've got the black and white intricate stripes as well. And then that's finished off at the bottom. You've got that little chunk cut out the edge there with the screw at the bottom finished off in black. This looks fantastic. Always love the design of it. You know, as far as I'm concerned, this is the shape of a sonic screwdriver. You know, you can't go wrong. And with the collar pulled down, you can see you've got the black rubbery bit as well underneath, which is great. Then, of course, like I said, it's got sound effects, as all of them do. So let's go through what we've got. If you pull the collar down once, you get the sort of bog standard sonic screwdriver sound effect. Press it twice. I think that's from the 12th Doctor's sonic screwdriver. And then if you pull the collar 3 times, you get that classic sound effect from the Sea Devils where the Doctor's about to blow up a Sea Devil with the landmines. And then if you give it 4 pulls, you get the sound effect of the door handle that is almost like a proto-sonic screwdriver that the Doctor uses in Inferno. That's great. I love the fact that we've got some actual era-specific sound effects because that's always nice to hear. And just for comparison, here's my other version of the sonic screwdriver, which had these sound effects. So I think that one just has like the Matt Smith sonic screwdriver sound effects chip in it. It was always very difficult to find the one that had the more accurate sounds, but if you're after a sonic screwdriver that has era-accurate sounds, then look no further. It's all in here. This is a really lovely upgrade to the sonic screwdriver. And I'll be honest, I was kind of sort of like nonplussed about the sonic screwdriver being included in this set. I'm in it mainly for the figures. The sonic screwdrivers are nice. I had the previous version, which I thought, yeah, that'll do me. But having this one in hand and having the proper sound effects, that just gives it a huge thumbs up from me. So yeah, really pleased to have this in the collection. So there we go, guys. That is the 3rd Doctor and sonic screwdriver set. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Will you be picking this up? What do you think about this new idea of like having a Doctor with several accessories from across their era? What do you think of the inclusion of the sound effects sonic screwdriver? Do you think is necessary? Would you rather not have that? Would you want to see more of that? Because I think all the sonic screwdrivers in this new electro-plated finish would look really good. And I think there are plenty of different Doctors that could benefit from this new Vortex Edition paintwork. And I think, like, even for modern Doctors, the 10th Doctor, for instance, let's get that 10th Doctor in the long brown coat with the ball-jointed shoulders that we saw on eBay a little while back, you know, the one that didn't quite make it to shops, and give him an updated head sculpt. I think there's lots of opportunities to revisit the Doctors, either revisit costumes that they've already done or produce costumes that they've not done before. Let me know what you think about this set. Let me know what you'd like to see. What versions of the Doctors would you like to see coming up in this style? Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all soon for another Doctor Who action figure review. Goodbye!